Hello, today we're going to set up and solve proportions. So our objective is I can write and solve a proportion given a word problem. Our first example says a family traveled 174 miles in 3 hours. At this rate, how many miles could they travel in 5 hours? So we're going to pick apart this problem. We're going to use our little step-by-step guide here. And the very first thing it says is it wants us to identify what we're trying to find and choose a variable to find it. So they gave us some information, 174 miles in 3 hours. Oh, that's a comparison. So that looks like a ratio. At this rate, oh, it goes on to tell me that's a rate comparison between two different units of measure. And it says at this rate, how many miles? So this is what we're looking to find. How many miles can we travel in 5 hours? So I'm going to circle that we're trying to figure out how many miles. And we need a variable. So we're going to choose X. We could use M for miles, or you could use a different variable. But now we're going to know that the variable X represents the number of miles we can travel in 5 hours. So that's what were asked to do first. Second, it says set up a proportion labeling the top and bottom quantities, the top and bottom numbers. So again, just to remind you, proportion is two equal ratios. So let's look again at what they give us. A family travels 174 miles in 3 hours. Right there, they're giving us our first ratio. So we're going to write that in the order that they give to us, but the labels are very, very important. So we're going to write 174 miles, and then we're going to write 3 hours. So now that I have miles listed on top and hours listed on bottom, my next ratio must be in that same order. So let's read the next sentence. At this rate, how many miles, we're going to use an X for that, could they travel in 5 hours? So my next ratio, we want to put X miles. And it's very important that's on top because I started with miles on top and now I have miles on top here. And then it says 5 hours. So now my labels match each other. On top are miles and on bottom are hours. So we set a proportion labeling the top and bottom quantities. Our next step, cross multiply and solve. So we're going to use our butterfly method, and we're going to multiply 174 times 5 hours. So we're taking 174 times 5. The butterfly body tells me to drop down the equal, and then the second butterfly wing says I'm going to multiply 3 times X hours. So now let's go ahead and use our calculators. You can pause and take 174 times 5. Okay, after we multiply, we're going to get 870 equals 3x. And if you don't like seeing the number on this side and you prefer to see 3x on this side, you can switch them. I'm going to solve it as is. So now that we have both sides, factors on both sides, I'm going to divide by 3 because I want x by itself. So I'm going to divide by 3. Again, pause this video, use your calculator, and we get x equals 290. And finally, the last thing we want to do is we want to state the answer to the question. So let's go back and look what we're asked to do. At this rate, how many miles could they travel in 5 hours? Also, our labels are very helpful because X miles, we're being told that it's miles. So this 290 means they can travel 290 miles in 5 hours. So we can write at this rate, the family can travel 290 miles, that's what we just found, in 5 hours. So now we've completely answered our question. All right, so let's go through this process together one more time in example number 2. Example number 2 says Sophia earned $480 in 32 hours. At this rate, and that should be the word this, how much would she earn if she worked 40 hours? Okay, so let's establish what we're being asked to find. It says at this rate, how much would she earn? So it looks like we're talking about money. So we're going to circle this, and let's go ahead and circle this. How much would she earn? So we want to know the amount of dollars, X dollars, because we were given how much she earned in dollars in the initial ratio. So let's look at that. The very first information they give us is $480 in 32 hours. So the next step is going to be to is to set up a ratio. So I have $480 in 32 hours. So I'm going to write 480, and that's talking about money or dollars. So I'm going to label it in 32 hours. So these labels are extremely important, and I'm writing it in the order that they gave it to me. So I'm trying to form a proportion, which is 2 equal ratios. So let's look and see what else the information is they give us. At this rate, how much would she earn? Oh, that's what I don't know. So I'm going to write X dollars. So I don't know how much money this is right now. And they also tell us if she works 40 hours. So that's another bit of information that's important. So 40 hours. And I'm going to put 40 hours on bottom. So now let's make sure we have this set up correctly. We have dollars both on top. Okay, that's correct. And then we have hours on bottom. So that my top labels and my bottom labels are consistent. Great, so now we have the proportions set up correctly. So next we want to cross multiply. And it doesn't matter which wing we use first. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use this wing because that's where I see my variables. So I'm going to take 32 hours times X. And right now I don't need the labels. Then I'm going to drop down the equal sign. That's what the butterfly body means. And then I'm going to use the next butterfly wing, which says 480 times 40. So now we're going to pause and use our calculator. So this leaves us with 32x, that's the product on this side, and then 19,200 on the other side. So now that we have those products, now we need to figure out what x is, and that's where our solving steps come in handy. So we're going to divide both sides by 32, so you can pause and use your calculator again. So we have x equals 600. Finally, since we were asked a question, let's see what the question was. At this rate, how much would she earn if she worked 40 hours? So this 600 is talking about dollars. So our last step, let's write that answer in words. Sophia would earn $600 in 40 hours. All right, so please now complete the 3 practice problems on the back of this page independently, and then check back to check your answers with the key that I will post. Thank you.